thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Can I start by thanking you and Mr Speaker for allowing today's emergency debate and congratulate my right honourable friend, the member for Sutton Coldfield, on securing it. I've had the privilege of representing the UK as a Minister in the Foreign Office and the Department for International Development, and I've had the privilege of seeing around the world the good that our aid budget does. Whether it was in the midst of the Ebola outbreak in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the fact that the UK had invested in vaccines and cold chain deployment of those vaccines meant that we were able to contain that deadly disease, whether it was the work that we put into neglected tropical diseases, which means that we have been able to contain and control other diseases from reaching the UK. Surely we should have learned from all of that how important it is for the UK for us to be working on these types of shared global challenges for humanity. And I have had the privilege of going to Goma, near where the volcano is erupting, and seeing how we had brought fresh water to Goma, where it had been UK expertise and UK firms that had won the contract to do that. It is something that benefits our economy here as well, benefits those exporters. It is a win-win for the UK public and for the world. And I do feel very strongly that it was a great privilege to be able to say that we're the only G20 country, or we used to be, that meets its NATO 2% target and the 0.7% UN target in terms of aid. And surely global Britain, if it means anything, it means that. And being able to say that so proudly. And so I was particularly proud to stand on a manifesto that again committed to those metrics in terms of our position in the world. And I think that in terms of manifesto pledges, politicians hesitate to break them because they know that the electorate will punish them at the next election if they do. Whether it's George H.W. Bush and, read my lips, no new taxes, or whether it's Nick Clegg and his tuition fees, people realise that they don't break manifesto pledges because the electorate dislikes it. But I feel in this case, Mr Deputy Speaker, that the people who benefit from our aid budget the most are the ones who have no voice in this place. And I have met with them and I need to articulate on their behalf how important this spending is. Then there's another reason, Mr Deputy Speaker, why I feel particularly passionate on this subject, and that is the fact that we have enshrined the 0.7% into law. Now, I know that there is a get out under 2.c or something, that if you inadvertently don't meet 0.7, then you can come to Parliament, explain why and how you're going to get back to it. But it's an absolutely contentious legal issue to actually target 0.5. And I think that's something that may well be challenged in the courts. And I think the simplest thing to do would be to come to Parliament for that consent, if it's such a good idea. The government has a large majority. The power that the executive has is derived through us in Parliament. And therefore, it needs to show the respect to Parliament by coming and asking us and giving us a vote, as the Honourable Member for Gainsborough put so powerfully. And so, Mr Deputy Speaker, I could expatiate for a length of time about how passionately I feel that we're making the wrong decision. But in this week, when we're hosting the G7, when we need to vaccinate the world, where cases now are beginning to really grow exponentially across many African and Asian countries, when the IPU 142 Assembly last week, we heard from every country they need the vaccines. Let's get out of this hole by giving our vaccines to the world.